Hey everybody, welcome to Saving Greens Homestead. My name is Keisha, and if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I welcome you. Yes, I am in front of my house where my potato setup was, and I'm just looking at it. I need to get that cleaned up. Before I left to go on my camping trip, I harvested my potatoes. There's the containers there. I need to get them cleaned and put away, stored away. They all flattened down. But you guys, I really wanted to bring you out here and show you the condition of my front yard garden, which is a lot worse than my backyard garden. So if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I welcome you. I live in the high desert of Southern California, and I recently just got back from a week-long trip to a youth camp, taking my youth from church to camp about 7 hours away from where I live. And it was a great week, and a lot of good things happened. And I was really concerned when I got back that my garden was I didn't know whether or not it was gonna be in good shape, because at the same time there was a heat wave going on, and we were staying at triple digits, consistent back-to-back triple digits the whole time, of upwards of 110 degrees. So I didn't know if I was going to come back to a garden that was thriving, or a garden that was going to look like how these carrots kind of look, dead. And I have a photo of an egg that when my husband was collecting the eggs while I was gone, and some of the eggs got cooked in the sun, like literally hard boiled in the sun. So when I went to go make breakfast and I'm cracking open eggs, some of them were solid. And I have a photo I'll show you, but it's just crazy how hot it got while I was away. And with that heat comes a lot of growth. And as you can see, there's a lot of weeds right here that I have to get out of this bed. And there's a lot of weeds over here. And there's even more over there. So I'm just going to walk you around and show you what is going on with this garden of mine. Some things are growing great, and some things are just dead and just not thriving. So before I left, I planted these. This is sorghum. It looks like corn, but it's not. It's part of the corn family because it's a grass as well as corn is a grass. But it's another word for it, I think, is millet. I call it millet. And it's used to feed your livestock. It's used to feed livestock like chickens and maybe goats. If they eat grains and stuff like that. These are grains that are given to animals. And well, these, before I left, they have popped up and were there, but I mean, it's just sporadic. This front yard, I'm gonna give you a little history of this front yard, but first let me show you. I do have some beans that I planted down here, and you can see some of them popped up right there. It took them a long time to pop up. And there's some over here on this side too. And I was really eager to see how those turn out, because they're supposed to be burgundy in color and real pretty. But anyway, it's just to give you an idea about my front yard here. My house faces the south. So all day long, it's nonstop sunlight until right about now, when the sun starts to set on the other side of my house and finally throw shadows from the house across the yard. But from the moment the sun rises and throughout the heat of the mid part of the day, it stays in complete sunshine all day. And with it being so hot, all this stuff is just getting cooked. And so it's really hard for me to try and grow stuff out here that would be able to survive this type of an environment. And you'll see that as I go along here and point out things. Okay, so like for instance, these flowers that I planted in here that were really pretty. Oh, look, my ice plants flowered. That's interesting. But the flowers that I had planted in here in a ring, well, they all died. They just couldn't take the sun. The sun was just too much for them. So I have to find things that are grown out. If these ice plants do really good here and prosper, then maybe I'll just do nothing but ice plants at the bottom of this plum tree. But it's a very harsh environment for stuff to grow. And so my iris bed is taken over by weeds now. So I'm gonna have to come out and do a lot of weeding out here. There was some volunteer celery growing in here, but I think the sun killed it. I don't see it anymore, so I think the sun killed it. But this grass, this ornamental grass, is doing really good. It's so pretty. I try and make my videos earlier in the daytime before the winds start to blow, because there's constant winds blowing out here. Anytime after 12 noon, the winds start to kick up. And so you'll see in my front yard here, one of my challenges is keeping everybody else's trash out of my yard, because the wind just blows all kinds of trash here. And since I'm at the end of this cul-de-sac, my yard collects it all. It stops with me. So I'm constantly out here trying to get trash from out of my beds and stuff. Look over here. But it's always windy, so I apologize for all the wind noise and stuff. I'm trying to work it out. I've been using my cell phone to make my videos lately, and I haven't quite figured out how to use my external mic with it, because it has different attachments. So maybe it's just not compatible to my phone. But I noticed when I did the video for Tuesday that there was a lot of wind noise in that video. But everything here is pretty much scorched. All of my sunflowers are done and they're scorched. And so the only thing that's gonna be left in this bed that I purposefully planted to stay in this bed are these gazanias, like this one, and like these over here, yellow ones. And I have more seeds. That's what I want to eventually fill these beds. I want them to be full of just these gazania flowers, so that then the weeds will be drowned out and it will stay nice with just flowers. But until they fill in, I'm using the space to grow other stuff, foodstuffs or other flowers. So right now it looks like I'm just trying to grow a whole bunch of weeds. So I'm gonna get out here and I'm gonna tear down these sunflowers that are in these beds, take out all the weeds, and then I'm gonna start planting stuff in here for fall, and see how well that'll go. I know there's some things that I won't be able to plant in here right away, like cabbages, like how I did last time, because it's still way too hot. We're still, like today was 93, but this weekend we're supposed to hit triple digits again. And then we go back down into the 90s, but I'm sure we're gonna hit triple digits some more before the end of this month. So I have to really be intentional on what I plant. And I thought the sunflowers would do good, and they did, until it started getting super hot. I mean, hot enough that they scorched. And I thought these chard were gonna do good too out here, and I thought they would grow big and bushy like they do in the backyard garden, and that they would give some shade to my gazanias so they wouldn't get blistered by the sun. But instead, these chard, they suffered, and so they didn't grow as big and bushy because their growth was stunted because it's just so hot. They just can't take the heat out here. Look how fried this plant is. He just burnt crispy. So aside from me having to clear out a lot of these weeds that's been popping up, I am going to start replanting some stuff out here. So these are those containers. I got to wash them out because, you know, they still have some residue left in them. Wash them out, and then they just flatten. If you haven't seen the video of these, I will link it in the description where I show you how these work when I was putting everything together. And then that way you can see for yourselves. But look at this. The grass took over this bed. Just took it over. This poor sunflower has been like this, just stuck in limbo this whole time. It hasn't really grown anymore. It hasn't bloomed. It formed that little tiny head, but then that's it. My strawberries are still doing okay because the grasses kind of grew up and covered them, but they did suffer. You can see all that brown was strawberry, but then you can also see amongst that brown there's some green still here. Let me get stuff out the way. And this is strawberry, so it's still alive, but it got scorched. So I'm gonna have to clear this bed out, and when I do, I'm gonna have to be careful not to pull out any of the melons that I planted in here, because there's melons that I planted all throughout here that were supposed to help cover the strawberries like last time, and it didn't quite work out that way. Which leads me to a point that I want to make. I have been just a little bit down because my garden this year hasn't been up to how my garden usually is. And I've been having failure after failure after failure with stuff, and it's been so hard for me to get stuff going and keep it going and healthy. And with our weather, temperatures fluctuating and winds that we've had and just the whole 9 yards, it's just been really hard. But then I was looking back at some of my old videos and some of my old photos, and my heart just completely filled with joy because it looked so great. And it encouraged me because I know that my garden, I know the potential that it can look, and I know what I've done with it before, and I know it can be done again. I just have to be patient and not grow tired in doing what I do, but just to keep pushing forward and just accepting every little tiny win and victory as it happens, and just keep going from there. So that's what I'm gonna do, because this garden has been so difficult this year. Okay, so this is a basil plant. Now, I scattered basil seeds all throughout this bed, thickly, all throughout this bed of several different varieties of basil, because I really wanted a whole lot of basil to grow. And I also planted a whole lot of onion seeds, and I scattered them all throughout this bed because I love onions. And I said, okay, well, let's see how well that'll work if I broadcast those seeds. Well, it didn't work that well because I don't see any onions. None of those popped up. Just that one little tiny basil grew. So that's how good that worked out for me. I'm telling you, this season was just weird for me. Another thing that didn't quite work out like I planned in this front yard garden is I planted a whole bunch of beans. one popped up. I planted a whole row all the way down to that dahlia flower down there, all the way to the end here. In the front, I planted all bean seeds. I was gifted some bean seeds from someone, and I mean, there's all these different varieties of beans, and it came with a cookbook, and it had all the descriptions of how you can use them, how you can grow them and eat them, and it was just great. And I was so excited to plant these beans out here, but I guess it was just too hot, and so the beans didn't even sprout. Now they might, seeing that this one sprouted. Oh, not just that one, another one sprouted right here too. I don't know if you guys can see them right there. Seeing that they're starting to sprout a little bit here, that maybe they sense something that I don't sense, and they're gonna actually grow. Hopefully that happens. But I was just like devastated that they didn't come up, because I really wanted to see all the different ones, the different types. Some of them, the photos of the plants themselves and the flowers were just so pretty, let alone that they produce beans that I can eat and feed my family. Which recently I just made some rice and beans using beans that I grew last season, black beans and kidney beans, and I'll put the photo up so you can see it. But I was just really happy about that, because I was able to use what I grew to make a meal for my family. And that's the joy in this for me in gardening, is that I know where my food is coming from and what I'm feeding my family. And so, yeah. And I brought you over here so I could show you. This was the cilantro, the one cilantro plant that grew out of all them seeds I planted. And so since that one grew, I let it go to seed. And I'm just going to scatter these seeds around and let those grow. Now, when you plant seeds and they grow successfully, then you reuse those seeds. Those seeds are already tempered for the environment that the parent plant grew in. So I should be more successful using the seeds off of this plant that grew and set seed in this bed, because now these seeds are going to be tempered to this harsh environment, and so hopefully it'll go better. And the same thing with this lettuce right here. I let it go to seed, and with hopes that these seeds will scatter and I will have random lettuces popping up everywhere. So that was my thinking behind those. That's why they're still there. But moving on, look at this. This dahlia is opening. Look at the color on that. It's so pretty. I can't wait for this to bush out, and I'm glad that the sun hasn't like completely killed it. You can see where it is getting scorched on some of the leaves here. And I'm sure the sun is having some effect on it producing more flower buds. But I'm happy for that one. I'm really happy for that one. And then that roselle is growing. And I guess it really loves that spot. The other one that I had planted over here died. The sun was just too much, I guess. And so this one is doing good because it gets some shade. So it's doing really good. But everything else over here died. And this is where I put the leaves and stuff from the potatoes. But I gotta get this weed out of here. And then I have this radish. This monster radish, you guys. Now, with this, all these pods are filled with radish seeds. And the radishes that are grown from these seeds will have the potential to grow as big as the mother plant. So I will be saving a lot of these seeds to reuse. And I'll probably offer it to some of my gardening friends to come out and get some seeds. because I mean, it's a lot of seeds. And I just like to do that. I like to share and encourage people to grow their own food. And what better way than to help encourage that by sharing some of the seeds that I got. I'm not trying to make a whole lot of money off of people or anything like that. I'm just trying to make people aware that they can grow their own food successfully. Look at this. Okay, so my watermelon over there, back here, the one that was doing really good, it died. And I don't know if you guys can see that. Oh yeah, you can. All of those sunflower seeds are scattered because of the birds, which is fine. I want the birds to eat the seeds and enjoy it and get some sustenance from it too. Look at this. You can see already where they picked out a lot of seeds off of this one. Well, they started to. And then this one only has a few seeds left on it. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these sunflowers out so that I can plant a new round of sunflowers for the fall. And I'm just gonna offer it to people in my gardening group for them to come out and be able to harvest whatever seeds they want from out here. And then that way they can grow some sunflowers for themselves. And then what's left I'm gonna feed to my chickens because I'm sure they'll love it. But I wanted to show you guys this pumpkin died. I mean, he's barely holding on to life there. You can see some new growth coming out at the base there, but he just looks really pathetic with this heat that we've had. Just really took its toll on him. And a lot of my watermelon plants have suffered in the way that they just stunted in growth. They just stopped growing because it's just too hot for them. And then look at these. Zinnias are making a comeback. They got scorched by the sun, and so they're trying to come back now. And I'm hopeful for them because they're really pretty out here. I'm gonna plant more though. This watermelon plant just never took off. It's just because of this heat. If it wasn't so terribly hot, then they would have grown a lot better. There's this one. This one is doing okay, but you can see where he's curled in on himself because of the heat. And he suffered a little bit too. Back there, he suffered. Hopefully, as the temperatures start to mellow out, then they'll survive long enough for that and be able to put on some fruit for me. But all of these sunflowers I'm gonna start taking out. And they're pretty. I mean, they're not like a total eyesore out here, but I want to start fresh with some new ones so I can have something growing and to look forward to in the fall. So this all leads me back over here to the squash plants here. They put on a lot of new growth since I cut them back, and there's fruit. I gotta get that one off of there. It's huge. But they put on some fruit too, so I need to harvest this one since he's so big and get him in the house. Oh, there's a spider right there. I didn't even see that spider. I'm touching all over there. Didn't even see that spider. Let me see. Let me use my right hand. Oh, he went back up under that leaf right there. Let's see if I can go around him. so I can get this out without disturbing him too much. Look at that. Oh yeah, that's gonna be good eating. So let's see, I don't see any others in there that are ready. I'm gonna be pulling these out too, and maybe I'll plant more squash plants since they seem to be doing okay out here in this heat. I mean, you can see where the sun has scorched them some, but for the most part they seem to be doing all right. So maybe I'll plant more squash plants because I do love squash. But don't tell my daughter Alonda, she'll have a fit. She does not like when we have a whole bunch of squash, because I use them and I make a whole lot of different meals, and she's like, Mom, I'm just tired of squash. I don't like it anymore. But I make all kinds of dishes out of it. So I have more in the back that I need to go and get and harvest that I showed you in my last video. I just haven't harvested them yet. But anyways, you guys, this is what my front yard garden looks like right now. And I will be making update videos to keep you posted on the changes and how things look after I cut everything down, and what I decide to plant out here. So be looking forward to that. And you know, one good thing about me making these videos is it kind of holds me accountable for the things that I say and keeps me from slacking off. And I do not want to be a slacker, so I will get stuff done and get my garden planted. But I thank you guys for watching this video and being interested in my little humble garden. I wish I could bring you a video of the huge success this season has been for me, but it hasn't been. And that's the truth. It hasn't been very successful at all for me this season, but I have air in my lungs, which means I'm still alive, which means I have another opportunity for this fall season to get things done, get things going, and look forward to next spring. So anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching my video, and I will see you in the next one. And as always, God bless. I wonder what happened to my little helpers. Neither one of them are out here. I bet you they're in the backyard sleeping right now, because neither one came out here to help me with this video. I'm gonna go check right now and see if they're sleeping on the job. Just like I thought, sleeping on the job, both of them. Tiger is off to the right there and Sunny to the left. Both of them sleeping on the job. Left me to produce and make this video all by myself. Look at you guys. Yeah, you missed your time out there. You late to work. Look at you. Just out here, laid out. Is it hot? Is it so hot for you, Tiger? That kitty. Sunny. Oh my goodness. The cat life.